post announcements there as well. But then, I guess if nothing else, let's get back to the session then. So, when last we left off, the crew had, of course, been attempting to discern more about the nature of the manor and Mr. Tussaud in particular. You were met with a very warm welcome by this mysterious gentleman who brought you in and offered you a bountiful veritable feast, one that you politely appeared to partake in, but in fact nobody consumed any of the food, as may have been wise based upon the fate of the crew of the Crozier, or at least what seems to have happened to them. Really, there's still some mystery there, but you are at least certain that consuming that would have been a problem for you. So, so far as the remainder of the session went, essentially, you spent time trying to learn something of him and how long he's been there, trying to understand even just basic details of his biography. He seemed kind of puzzled by a lot of it, not exactly aware of how long he's been where he has, or how any of this has. He hasn't truly understood quite a few significant things. Indeed, he doesn't also seem to have any particular insight as to the location of the. He doesn't seem to have any insight into the location of the crew of the Crozier as well, or what happened to them. He just knows that they were guests under his care, and he was happy to see them. He's been happy to see most of you as well, although Lieutenant Shira has been a point of puzzlement for him. So, in essence, after engaging in polite conversation for a time, he eventually ran off and set about to other duties, though willing to come back as needed. The crew split off with Commander Patel and Dr. Lambeth heading back to see if they could get some samples of anything biological and the wildlife, and try to make sure, try to better understand how things had been created here. That task took you back to the shuttle pod, where you met with Conley and his new pet, Mr. Woolsworth, one of the sheep on the planet. Sadly, Mr. Woolsworth met a rather gruesome fate when a large crustacean-type creature burrowed from the underground and just practically tore him to pieces and consumed him.
Poor Woolsworth, he'll always be remembered.
Yes.
He will be remembered.
He met a bad fate. See what you've done now. The GM is infected by puns.
The GM has been, yes.
I can't think of another. I can't think of another. I can't think of anything clever to connect that. This is just a punishment for everyone.
Yeah,
Look,
maybe we should hold a funeral.
Oh, it's a stretch, but I'll take it.
It's a woolly situation.
Yeah, that kind of works.
That was my long shot.
This really gets my goat.
I'm just thankful this is the.
Yeah, we're just trying to. We just keep on trying to ram more puns in there.
I'm just kidding. We're all kidding ourselves here.
I've been a little sheepish about expressing myself.
I will fucking leave.
That wasn't a sheep pun. What are you talking about?
Okay.
We know we've pushed it when it's gone there, so
yeah. Panda can't handle the sheer puns of this, so
Okay, we've heard you, Panda.
yes. In any case, the sheep
So painful.
yeah, at least one sheep died. The shuttle pod barely escaped, albeit after getting grabbed by a claw, but thankfully sustained no damage from it. The craft made it away, and you were heading back into orbit. Meanwhile, with the team that elected to remain on the ground, led by Colonel Sharp, and with Commander Romanov and Lieutenant Shira, you attempted to enter into a part of the manor that Tussaud had declared off limits. Let's see, memory serves, the western wing of the manor, which seemed to mostly be composed of a residence, essentially. Um, the After some effort, you managed to scale the compound and enter into one of the windows. The first one you made it into actually showed that there was seemingly a member of the Crozier's crew, Captain Ross. Unfortunately, while he seemed to be there in the physiochemical sense, he was wholly unresponsive to you. He was just found standing in the room, um, all on his own, and yes, with no indication that he was aware of your presence in the slightest. Um, with that seeming to not work terribly well, you eventually decided to move out, and with a bit of jury rigging, threw together another it's sort of a makeshift grappling hook to make sure that you could all ascend to another room. And from there, you managed to discover a way into the surrounding corridors. And it is at that point where we left off when, whilst attempting to, when discovering a staircase inside the manor, all of you essentially found your way to, or rather, you found that in this darkened section of the manor, lights were suddenly coming in, and you were beginning to hear footfalls. So that is where we are going to rejoin the adventures. So from where we left off, um, Colonel Sharp, you are standing in the doorway. You are very grumpy.
Yeah, because I just saw something freaking magical. Just
Yes, the
or
candle literally it looked literally like an old like candle with wick and everything, and it just lit up of its own accord.
while there may be some scientific effects, this is not a great inclination. And I see a light source approaching right up the stairs.
Uh, yes, it's more the indication of sound, rather than I think the light source. Although I would dare say that whoever is carrying that probably has some supplemental light on hand. I'll just, for the ease of doing so, we will go ahead and say that.
Okay, how quiet was the door when we opened it?
It was an extremely well-oiled door. Like you could imagine, the hinges were kept perfectly fresh. It was just absolutely immaculate, much like a great many things here. For as much as the aesthetic is hitting on something very old or even ancient from your perspective, Sharp, um, this is also like it would be like in some ways seeing a retro like pre-jet plane or something, but looking as if it were in factory condition. Hell, frankly, even like an early model jet, but you know.
Right. All right. I will grab. I'll I'll reach back to grab Romanov's shoulders and just back the fuck up really quickly, really quietly, and
At the moment I feel that, I'm backing up, and I'm backing up tactically facing, so that if anything's coming at us, we're ready for the wave.
Yeah, we're just gonna go back the way we came and very quickly but discreetly close the door and just try to see if we can peek through the window without exposing ourselves.
So standing outside of the door in the the door that had the window looking into the staircase, basically.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So, a few minutes pass by, and if it would help, I can provide you a bit more visual inclination here. Let's go ahead and move you. Oops, that is not what I meant to do there. Just one moment. Roll20 is waiting to be a little more cooperative here. So I'm going to go ahead and drop you into a pretty basic map here. I'd say you'll want to, once we're here, look down to the side level more or less. Oh, here we go.
Oh, neat. All right, so can't move our pogs.
Oh no, that's no good at all. Allow me to fix those pogs for you.
The stair still goes upwards, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, in spite of the design of the staircase there, it is something that extends both upwards and it goes both up and down, basically.
Right.
So, just to check there, Romanov, are you able to move your token?
Let me see. Sometimes when I connect, it doesn't always let me do that. Give me a minute. I'm having trouble getting out of my character sheet.
Sure thing.
Could you move it real quick? For whatever reason, I'm locked up.
Okay, yeah, give me just one moment there. I can say I checked the privileges there. It looks as though yours should be set to represent you, Romanov, but for whatever reason,
I had a connection freeze up with Roll20, so.
I understand. Well.
Okay, so
I'll be like right there.
Okay, and for our purposes, while the doors are represented as open, they are in fact closed. Just to give you a bit of perspective,
yeah.
Your point,
Romanov, I want you like right here, my friend.
Here. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. That. Sorry, I was looking at it the wrong way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm right at the corner. We're on either side of the door.
Yeah, just so we can peek without exposing our full.
Absolutely.
Full profile.
Sorry, I was having a little trouble with
So,
Roll20.
As point of perspective, you were still on the same side of the building as you entered from, so Sharp, just based on your understanding of the rough layout, you could guess that this immediate door here was the first one that is likely the door to the first room that you had been in the West Wing. It was on the same level essentially as was the simple connective thought. Caffeine, don't fail me now.
The other captain is, yeah.
Yes.
I gotcha.
Yes. So this should be same level. That should be his room, you would guess. The room further on the left is the door outward facing, and all the way on the left is the entryway on this end of the building that was where you came from.
Okay. Cool.
So, the staircase, the steps continue, and they continue to get louder and louder as a figure begins to darken the shadow of the um, through the window in the door there, essentially. Um, are
Does it
you?
seem like it's slowing down in steps, or they're just gonna keep as if they're gonna keep going, or right? Does slow down in steps
It,
as if they're gonna stop on this
it
floor and then keep going?
it seems as though the steps are slowing down as it approaches or as the light from outside is obscured by the sort of steady light that was coming off the candle um, nearest the entrance is beginning to be obscured, and there's a smaller light source that you get the impression of something flickering. So perhaps if you imagine a candle or lantern were being held and the light were fluctuating slightly.
She will quickly look back over in this direction to see what's around the corner. There's not very many rooms down there, so she will instead go on all fours and skitter over here before grabbing Romanov and making our way to this door.
Okay.
Okay. Do you attempt to enter that particular door?
Yes.
Okay. Um, I will simply give you that the door freely opens into what appears to be essentially another bedroom of identical make to the others, with the exception of no exterior window. But
Right.
as you very gently, I'll actually ask you to give me a roll to very gently close the door. Um, and this can be either one of you, but I will say either security or engineering for the discipline, and control for the attribute. So whomever gets to
I
this is
got a
going to be
14 on control. How about your 14 on the two? How about you?
Let me tell you. I might be slightly better at that because I've got a pretty insane engineering. That's why I'm your
No, 15. 15. Control's 11.
Control 10. I'm 15 engineering with a focus on nothing that applies on this, closing a door.
Strategy, close quarters
And
combat.
do it.
Um,
Do it. Do it. Do it.
no,
She's
no,
got
no, no.
no
I'm asking the GM if those apply. Those apply.
I don't think either one of those really apply here.
Okay. So I guess we'll just.
Go ahead and roll it. She's covering you right now with a phaser in her
All right.
hand
Just
and a
then.
flashlight.
Yeah. Then assist. Do we still have our momentum of 6, or that's gone?
I'll say probably have to drop at least one of those for the time between sessions. So I'll
All
say
right.
that you should be down to 5 more accurately.
All right. I will eat 1 if that's fine with the group, just so I can get extra die. And here we go. Yes.
All right.
And roll for assist, my friend.
And you'll beat me to the punch on saying that was a difficulty 2, so you will still wind up with 5 momentum. Romanov, I will ask you to drop 1 from the pool.
Okay. I'm going to drop 1 from the pool over here and put it out. Okay, put it out.
All
Is
right.
that correct?
That is correct. Wait, no, that's not correct. Click on the 6 momentum that you have.
Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, click on the 6 momentum we had. There it is. Okay, it didn't
Yep,
pop
and
up.
then
Yes.
just drag one of those out from the window.
Okay.
Anywhere onto the. There we go. Excellent. All right, so with that, you are able to both make it into the. You're able to quietly make it into the room. It is a very good thing that you have your flashlights, for this room is not well illuminated. But as you do that, you hear outside in the corridor footsteps, as Tuso enters the corridor, and you're going to hear the doorway close to the staircase, a few more steps, and then another doorway open, and then you will hear nothing. Well, after the door opens and then closes.
All right. I'll wait a moment, like a breath or two. Still nothing.
Mhm.
All right. I will very gingerly peek open the door. Wait another breath. And then well, as quietly as possible, open the door more fully and run in here. With hopefully Romanov following.
Yeah, she'll follow you, and she's gonna go in and directionally support the boss.
I
We're just gonna close the door quietly behind us.
Yep.
I think I may. I'm sorry, I
Left or
momentarily
right?
missed
You
that.
want me to
Which
go left or right?
What?
She's based on contact. You know, you're going left. I'm going right. We're going through the same entrance, right?
No, we're going through here. So yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah. But she's not tactically going in. She's just going in.
Got it.
Because we don't have time. We don't have time for that.
Okay.
okay, so you breach the staircase. The candlelight is still presently glowing. Um, what,
If I'd rather have a fight up here, sir, where they've got to come through the door, and we can cover the window.
She'll just raise a finger, and we're just gonna go down.
Okay, got it. We're doing this Mako style.
We're just trying to get ahead of this person of Tissot before Tissot notices. It's more or less she wants to get as far from Tissot as possible.
Got it.
Or at least enough distance before Tissot has to come back down these stairs.
all right. So with that being said, are you taking the staircase up or down?
Down.
All right. You begin to make your way down the staircase. For the next couple levels, I'm going to say that you encounter similar doors with windows that would suggest a very similar setup to what you've approached. Almost, I'd say, for any of you that takes a look at at your scanner at this point, it seems pretty much identical in readout. Anything more, and I think that would be a task. How far down do you wish to go?
Well, this was only the third level.
Mhm.
When we get down to what's supposed to be the first, is still go further down.
Yes.
She will mutter very quietly to Romanov, "Is there any way to boost communications in case of rock in the way? That's interference."
I'll check to see if there's any interference, and could I spend a momentum that we have an extra communicator that I could use as a relay booster?
I would be willing to allow you to buy that advantage. It would be two momentum to create an advantage like that.
Do
But
you want to create that advantage?
Given the fact we're going further on the ground and only really one way, yes, I would.
Okay, so let's go ahead and spend the 2 momentum then to create that advantage.
okay.
If that's fine.
Yeah.
And my move is rather simple on this.
Yeah.
It's to just turn it on and just use it as a relay. So our communicators will grab this signal first and relay through it. And this one's just acting as a booster.
Certainly. Now you did say
Every
you want.
time,
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry. No, just that every time I try to talk, the vacuum upstairs just vacuums even harder.
That really sucks. Sorry, I could not resist.
That was so well timed.
Yeah,
My lack
very
of
good.
coffee brain took a minute to process it.
Oh, the stream has
Anyway.
been overrun by puns. I have even forgotten to do the standard recording, which at this point, for the YouTube audience, I will say sorry that we missed the usual greeting, but the GM is on pun brain at the moment, and that has interfered with everything. So rest assured, we have not forgotten you, and hope you're enjoying the archive. Let's get back to it, though. So, quick query then. Is the in terms of the tasks you wanted to do. First, you did say you wanted to scan for interference. Romanov?
Yeah, see if there's any sign that we'll have trouble when we, when we go down.
Okay. Reason and science, please.
Reason and science. Okay. And somebody removed the momentum already? I've
I
not done so.
No, we're at 5, so now we're gonna be at 3, down 3.
Okay, so this is going to be reason and science.
yes, the difficulty of this task will be 1.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
So if you wish to spend momentum for that, then you can do so. Otherwise, you meet the difficulty on that, so there's no need. In order to buy the advantage, I will ask that you drop 2 from your pool, and
yeah, could somebody please do the 2 momentum? Hold on.
Yeah, that's you, my friend.
I know. I'm having a little trouble with roll 20 right now, which I normally don't have.
I will make an offer. Technically, I could keep both for you if you so wished, and you could just ask me to drop that if that would be easier for everyone to manage.
Yeah, somebody else is going to have to handle momentum. I don't know why, but I'm having trouble with roll 20 through Firefox, which I never do. It almost always works great. So,
and for whatever reason, I can't get into the momentum to steal it from you. How odd. Well, I will tell you what, unless somebody would like to volunteer to be designated momentum officer today, then I will simply recall the momentum, deal the pool out to myself, and then you can just ask me to drop things as desired.
I'll do the momentum.
All right. Much appreciated there, Craig. That's some officer level thinking there. Promotion to captain is in the works for you now.
I'll have to refuse that promotion.
That's fine. Anyway, so there you go. There's your momentum. And so with that, with your scanning check there, Romanov, you find that the staircase seems to extend down, would be the equivalent of at least 5 levels. And there seems to be one entryway into what might be a basement sort of area, but, well, this is where it starts getting a little bit weirder. Once you get past that, you can only verify that the tunnel goes down further, only because of like what you are getting from essentially like patterns of atmosphere and suggested design, but you find that there is some sort of interference, possibly some sort of energy field in similar fashion to what you've already been dealing with, or what you were aware exists in the atmosphere. But it is making an exact scan through that area a bit more difficult. You can verify that there's you are at least positive that there is something down there. The engineering of this place is such that it should at least give you that much. However, um, and it does show, yes, there will be interference, but the precise nature of what could be there is a little more difficult to understand. Um, that being said, realizing that you had a redundant communicator that was tucked away in the fold of an EV suit, you do actually have the ability to essentially leave a relay, or set up a relay that will connect with at least Shira's communicator, if not the Aegis.
All right. She will communicate to Shira and say, sharp to Lieutenant.
Shira here.
We seem to have found a subterranean level that's equally blocked by any scans. We're going to try to go a little bit lower. I'll communicate with you in the next 20 minutes. If I do not receive, if you don't receive a message from me back in 20 minutes, give or take, get back to the ship and figure out a better idea.
Yes, sir.
She'll just motion for. Is there any like crevices we can stuff that redundant communicator?
Oh yeah, I would have, put it somewhere that it wouldn't be easy to find.
The best you could probably do, because of course the stone is cut in a very exacting manner. It's not something where uh, this was designed to have such an old look, but also it's simultaneously that it is also perfect enough, essentially, that the there isn't really a convenient place to slide it in, or no signs of wear and tear that you would usually expect in a place like this, and that would be optimal in terms of the placement that you're looking for. The best you could probably do is set it on some stairs to the side.
All right, the
Okay.
best we can do. So,
Best we can do.
Yep, we'll go lower.
All right, and you begin your descent into.
Try. Sorry,
No, please go ahead.
Commander. Try to find that source of the interference, if you can.
Can I identify the source of interference? Is it something I can triangulate?
That will probably take a task, and I think that it'll be something that we follow a little more closely in a moment here. At first, I do feel like we should check in back up in orbit, where the level has arrived a very short time. Not the level. Oh, that other. Once again, a completely different campaign set in the Enterprise era with a completely different Daedalus class vessel. Oh dear. Anyway, we cut back up into orbit of HD 85512, or HD 85512B rather. The shuttle pod had a bit of a bumpy ride actually up back through the atmosphere compared to what you experienced the first time, Patel and Lambeth. But your return to the ship was, once you cleared that, um, your return to the ship was relatively smooth. Obviously, part of the concern now is whether Conley's been impacted in any sense by his time with the sheep, although he has stayed in his EV suit. Um, he has been very mildly in a state of panic. since your first conversations, and since whatever creature it was on the surface made its appearance and murdered poor old Woolsworth. So, um, as you set back to, as you put down in the ship, is there anything in particular that you were setting about?
I think the first thing I would do is take all these samples to the nearest science lab and get some analysis started on, particularly on that blueberry muffin, just
Okay.
because of the captain of the Crozier's sort of mentioning of the food on the planet being something particular.
All right. So, Patel, you make your way there. Lambeth, I presume your stop is to sick bay then.
Yes, I guess so. Yeah.
Okay. I will let you make the first go here with a simple reason and medicine roll in order to make sure Conley is okay. And I will just ask for a reason and medicine difficulty of 1.
Okay. Yeah, so I won't use anything for that then. So
Yeah.
just
You.
oh, I just did insight medicine.
Oh.
Um,
Well, that
I
works.
guess I just subtract 3 from it.
I'd be perfectly willing to just accept insight and medicine. Um, I would also say you have the ability to roll for. Someone can roll for the ship to help you on this as well.
Ship. And also starting. Nope, that's the Crozier. There is the ship. Aegis. There you go. What is it?
This would be sensors and medicine.
And then no focuses, so let's go.
Okay. Well,
No.
actually, it does take the ship always takes a focus, but the obviously there is not to. There's just nothing coming from that roll there, unfortunately. All of that, at least from the ship's roll. That being said, the Aegis is more than capable, or rather, Dr. Lambeth is more than capable enough to discern that aside from elevated heart rate, residual signs of adrenaline, and I don't know, maybe we'll say no, I'm not going to say there's anything else particularly noticeable. It's just a very slight increase in anxiety over the situation, but otherwise he actually seems to be perfectly fine. The EV suit showed no signs of breach when you went through decontamination protocols. His bloodstream has no signs of anything that conforms to what you might have seen from either any sensor readouts that you got from the Crozier, nor does it necessarily appear to have any like signs of any of the chemicals that you might have you might have expected after your indirect analysis of the uh, what's its face of the wastewater systems on board the Crozier. So Connolly is actually he is quite okay.
Okay, not a problem. So his contact with the sheep didn't cause any issues then.
Yep. So you find the results, and Conley looks to you with like eager eyes. Doc, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna turn into a zombie? What's gonna happen?
Well, I'm afraid it's not good news. It's not good news. You're gonna be absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with you.
Oh, good. Oh God. Wait, what? What?
Yeah, no, you're fine.
That, that,
Honestly, nothing cool's gonna happen. You're not gonna be a zombie or nothing like that. Your contact with Mr. Woolsworth or whatever you called him, seems to have gone fine. You don't seem to have picked up any contaminants.
oh, oh. Okay.
So you got a clean bill of health, and you can go back to duty.
Oh. Okay. I guess I'll go back to the bridge or back to the shuttle and or I I I don't know what are my orders. I feel free. An NPC was not meant to
Well,
know this.
yeah, well, don't let it go to your head.
Uh, uh, yes, doctor. He says, giving you a salute, and he'll move out. He'll leave the sick bay. Um, Elsewhere, let's get our inaugural look at the science lab aboard the Aegis.
Ooh.
Um, at the moment, it is just you, as there's a slight difference in shift rotation right now. Um, and we just don't quite have the supporting characters yet to throw into here. But if the doc wanted to be present, then certainly there's that option. And well, anyone else, start making some supporting characters. Um, you do also have other NPCs that you could conceivably have, although they are varying degrees of useful.
I
Um,
have an idea. It's up to whether or not anybody wants to grab it or not. But
Mhm.
I'm examining a blueberry muffin, and we have a ship's cook. In case anybody wants to have some fun with that guy.
I have a question.
Fire away.
Uh, could I have also hijacked or managed to grab a cook for the transfer?
Hmm. It's entirely possible, although the Franklin is crewed very thinly, so it would be,
I he was an extra on the Franklin, so like he was there as a cook for a random reason. I'll tell you, I want him to be a pirate gone steady because he preferred to be just be a chef, and you know he's big, intimidating, like I was thinking a Nausicaan or something really nasty, but he's just makes food and really good food at that.
I I like this idea too much not to pick up on it. So, yes, there you can pull in the chef combination here.
What do
Whom
we want for a scary alien race?
I'm certainly okay with. I'm certainly okay with Nausicaans. I suppose. Well,
So the Kazinti aren't discovered yet. Lyrians are not really scary. Klingons, everybody does Klingons.
yeah, Klingons I feel would be a little bit of a stretch. I do have one pitch I suppose for you, as you might recognize here, and I would say check your DMs on this one.
Sure, yeah. I was thinking that too, but I'm like, okay, yeah,
Yep.
no.
Okay.
So, yep.
I do feel like to as much as this is partly my shenanigans here, I do need to request a 2 momentum drop for this. as we are changing the narrative in a way.
If that's fine with people for just the sake of shenanigans. And
Yeah,
a good,
Yeah.
good
Things are
side
fine.
character. Cool.
All right. So, would anyone like to grab the other supporting character, the other ship's cook, or would you just, if nobody wants to do that, then we have one other cook character that'll be introduced. Go ahead.
I'll grab the cook.
I'll make up some other supporting character. I just don't have a strong thought right now.
Yeah, we'll save this for after session. Did you want to grab the cook that you have willed into existence there, Panda? Or
Yes.
all
Yes,
right.
I do.
Did anyone want to grab the human cook as a supporting character? I do think that was might have been I'm pretty sure that was also Patel's supporting or like drone supporting character rather. So if
Yep. But he's never popped up, so we can replace him if we need to.
well, we can set aside a. He can come up later. I'm sure there are instances where you will want to bring him in, but
Two competing chefs that are very territorial about the kitchen would be kind of funny.
yeah. So, when you called to the galley and were expecting the chef to come in, you were mainly expecting to see the gentleman whom you've met a few times already, one Hiroshi Takamura, who, as I recall, is an older, slightly balding man of, I believe, East or Southeast Asian descent. And he's definitely been as competent a cook as one might expect. Um, you haven't spent that much time near the galley in the past couple days, so you might have only heard a little bit on the side that after Sharp boarded, there was, after the official meet and greet, a slight delay whilst the other transfer came on board, and you hadn't had the chance to meet him as he walks through in very non-standard wear. But the door opens, and I'd say a bald green gentleman with green complexion, standing at about 6.5 feet tall, steps in. Presuming that he's been left to his default wear, Panda, I will let you have input on changing this, and I will even make the necessary amendments to the token later. But presuming he's been left with his default wear, he's basically come in with essentially a t-shirt with cut-off sleeves, or the equivalent look of that, and what would just about, if we were about 200 years in the future, it would be one of the scants, basically, but that sort of look.
Yep. He sort of just looms over, gives like his thick eyebrows just sort of like knit. There's a few piercings, like bolts that are through such one of his eyebrows, as he just gives like a frown. Yeah. What do you want?
Patel looks up from his console and he's like surprised and shocked and speechless, and he just goes, "Oh,
I was
you're
busy with dinner.
you're
You have a problem with my dinner?
you're you're big. Hello. Um, are you from the galley?
You called for a cook. The other cook's busy.
I see. I didn't know that we had more than one.
So what do you want? Complaining? Ask or don't tell me you're asking for recommendations or some particular menu item. I don't do specifics. I do what the other cook wants.
No, nothing like that. I was thinking more about your thoughts, but first, I mean, your name would be a good start.
What was the tokens there?
Yes, here, let me send that to you.
I saw it on my messages. Yeah, a lad. So
Alonzo?
but you can just call me Chef.
All right, that's fine, Chef. One of many, one of two.
Does that
Alonzo.
make-
Okay,
are you
thank you.
thinking I'm sort of less a chef? Little
No,
butt here for you?
definitely not. And he looks you up and down. And he's very much not as tall as you are. He's like, no.
Oh no,
It's
he definitely looms like sizing, like squaring up his chest a little bit.
This is basically think Michael Clark Duncan proportions, but in green skin and slightly
big.
taller. Yes, and broad.
All right. Well, now that we've got that out of the way, Chef Alazzo, Chef,
Just chef.
friend, Chef. Yes. I'm was wondering if you had any thoughts about some of these samples that I gathered from the planet below, and he like points to like a little platter that he has sitting on one of the science consoles that's got a couple foodstuffs, but then also just like some random inanimate objects that he grabbed from the chateau on the way out of the.
He just approaches just like a half step closer and just looms a bit closer, glaring his beady eyes down on you. Yeah, okay, and just starts just walks over to the thing. So what do you got?
This is where I would probably have some kind of like scan, like preliminary scan results or something that I can show him.
Okay.
Specifically on that blueberry muffin.
Can I have control of the token?
Allow me to unlock that for you. And I'm going to say, for the initial scan, I would like for you to give me a reason and science roll, which may be assisted by the ship with sensors and science. I'm going to say that the difficulty of this task is... Oh, I'm going to set it initially to 3.
Okie
So
dokie.
eminently possible.
So I would be assisted by the ship and then also, I assume, assisted by the good chef here? Or is it only one assist?
Well, since this is preliminary work, and since this gentleman has only just recently come into existence, I'm going to say that the initial assist is just from the ship.
Okay. I'm going to spend 1 momentum.
Okay. So that is going to be 3 successes on your own.
Science, right?
Yes.
All right.
And just for funsies and to get some momentum, I'm going to re-roll that 0 because I can.
Yes, cautious science.
Technical expertise.
Oh, technical expertise, that's right.
Ba-boom.
Shit.
Oh, well done.
I didn't. I could have set it to 5 and it wouldn't have made a difference.
6 successes.
Yep, that is 6 successes right there. So that is going to give you back 3 momentum. And yes, the preliminary chemical analysis is starting to come through. So from what you are noticing, here, Patel, it would seem as though the first, with regard to all of the objects, there is a certain degree of, shall we say, uniformity insofar as everything seems to have been, pretty much perfectly designed or fit within a certain paradigm, essentially. So if you happen to have grabbed multiple forks or just multiple pieces of silverware, then you would undoubtedly notice that the both of these oh geez, what am I trying to say here? There is a very exacting sort of composition to the nature of it. that everything. Go ahead.
It's like this is a perfect fork,
Yes.
a perfect muffin.
Yeah. Oh, it certainly. There's a uniformity in like the molecular structure that definitely suggests. Yes, this is very much like if something very exacting like a computer or some level of consciousness. This is the textbook definition of a muffin or a fork or a candlestick, um, and one that is in perfect condition. The candlestick, for example, um, you could guess it may have been very lightly used recently. However, it doesn't see it by the same token. It doesn't seem to have been. It seems fresh, in essence, is what you would be noticing. Um, so that's kind of the initial element that comes through. Um, with regard to the muffin very specifically, you notice that in similar fashion to I'd say this applies across the oh, across the board. That's the word I was looking for. Across the board with any sort of food samples you have, but they are built to not just emulate the taste, but to have a degree of like both exaggerated or highly supplemented nutritional status. So there are significant amounts of vitamins, minerals, some of which you'd expect, but not in these levels. Other nutrients that wouldn't ordinarily be there, but that are effectively very well hidden. Um,
I can also tell you that this ain't no medieval muffin just by looking at it right from the start. Whatever facsimile your human non-bosses ship tried to create, they had no idea how a muffin was created, so they just made it like a odd sort of muffin. See if you notice right here, he says it takes a utensil and just sort of presses down on part of the muffin. It's fluffy and light and more airy than anything else. That's not at all what the more low tech, stone hut sort of uh, wheat and bread is usually formed in those days. It's more hard and coarse, and it certainly requires other steps. There's no honey, there's no other sort of supplements for it. It would definitely be a lot more towards overdosing on the blueberries or adding other ingredients into it to sort of supplement the dry and coarse taste.
Patel looks over the console at Alazzo and says, "So you're saying this muffin wasn't cooked?"
I'm saying that this perfect muffin wasn't made in a medieval. He puts like big sausage fingers, medieval cooking. This is what people think a muffin should be. Boring, if anything else. Certainly not to any chef's sort of particulars, but uh, it's far too soft and uh, perfect than for any sort of medieval sort of cooking. If anything
Hmm.
else, it's more of our perceptions of what a muffin should be.
all of that said,
Regard.
oh,
Oh, good.
sorry, I was going to interject. Patel, Alonso does help you kind of assess this, and you realize that you're both right. Not only was this not likely cooked in the type of oven that would be available for this level of technology, you're kind of wondering whether any oven would be so exacting as this. Or the food processors on this ship are not capable of anything quite so precise, as both of you would undoubtedly know.
Nah,
Yeah, that would have been my next question: is could we do something like this, regardless of the skill of the chef, like technically speaking? Did
you
the scan reveal any?
you can with certain finesse to some degree to try to maximize. I've run across a few, well, let's just say some preferences when it comes to certain high quality individuals out there that may or may not have had to buy an extra sort of meals that they've requested. But even then, there's at least some sort of uh, there's at least some personality to it, whether it's a slight angle here and there. But this is exact. He slices the muffin into fours. As you can see right here, there's exactly 4 blueberries on every corner, and nearly in exact same positions.
I also hand a lot, like as he's slicing the muffin, I hand him a pair of gloves, and I imagine they're comically
Oh no,
undersized.
I know. I'm sure. I'm sure Yuri has gloves. Yeah.
Okay, good. So given that boatload of success that I had, did I detect any nanites or anything like that in this stuff?
Ah, yes. Something I will freely tell without not assessing any questions. There are indeed um, very small, seemingly inert for the moment, readings of nanites that would be present. The sensors in the lab are sufficiently focused to where they can confirm their presence.
Do you have any of those? Do you have a scanner, hand scanner thing?
I reach in my pocket and hand him a hand scanner.
He will take off a glove discreetly, like or gingerly, sorry, and set it away in a nice contained area. Before taking the scanner and scanning the muffin, yeah, see here, even down to the level, it is absolutely perfect. Even to this sort of level, it's either incredibly expensive or just impossible. Kind of jealous a little bit if it wasn't so plain.
Well, Chef, I would tell you, as interesting as it might look and as curious as you might be, please do not take a bite of that muffin.
I have no. I don't want to eat something so boring. He says, "I can make a better muffin than this piece of crap."
Then I
Excuse me.
guess I'm looking forward to dinner tonight. Then in the canteen.
Well, certainly it's going to be what the boss wanted. So, is there anything else?
I can't think of anything else. Sort of out of character, I can't think of anything else that I can really glean from this, besides just sort of the information, and then also the fact that the nanites are present in this.
If you have other questions, then you
With
can obtain information. I was going before you jump in there, Panda. I was just going to say,
Mhm.
as science officer, you do get a free question, and if you wanted to open it up to others to consider, if you don't have anything of yourself, anything you want to ask yourself, then by all means, now's the time.
So that also would give me, with Studious and a momentum spend, it would give me 3 questions.
Yes.
You are a genius, my friend.
So my first question, and then I can open it up to suggestions from everybody else. My first question would be, now that I have a live sample of these nanites and like with something in it, even if the nanites are inert, can I test out a way through all these various like samples that I've collected to deactivate or like render the nanites permanently inert in a specific thing, like almost as like a cure to them?
So you're trying to see if there's any means of disabling them without the rather extreme solution that they arrived
Yeah,
at on the
no,
cruiser.
no Omicron radiation or anything like that, but just like, is there another way that I can maybe render these things like harmless, basically,
Okay.
or the effect of them harmless?
Yeah. We'll say that you have I don't know, stock supply of fruit flies. No science lab is complete without fruit flies or something of the sort. Animal testing is cruel, and they know that in this era, so they probably have some facsimile. That you get 3D printed meat protein thing that is close enough to simulate a the type of life form
There's
that you want, and
Starcraft have those. There's biosamples. They're literally
Of
canteens
goo.
of weird flesh material.
yes, you have something that vaguely approximates what would be human tissue, and exposing the nanite sample, exposing bits of nanites in the small samples. Do you just try to insert some of the nanites, or do you also use the? Do you try to give essentially input a sample with a bit of the material that would come with the muffin? Essentially, I know that it's not a precise thing there.
I would start with the way that the crew would have ingested the nanites and doing it like together with some of the food.
Okay.
So like the way that I'm imagining, and I know this wouldn't be how it would be, but like I would imagine I have like some lab rats or something come and eat some of the muffin. Like
Yes.
not exactly that, but that's the effect that I'm going for.
Yes. Uh, we find a plot convenient science as magic way to simulate digestion and observe how the nanites behave. So what you notice is that once activated, essentially, it seems as though they would have been activated by ingestion. But as nutrients from the muffin and other food samples you brought in would have the effect of entering the bloodstream, the nanites immediately set to work. They proceed unpacking it in order to, um, in a sense, supplement the body's natural processes. They try their best to reinforce the nature, to reinforce the essentially they seem to act as a booster to the what would be the body's natural processes, trying to make it at once more resilient. However, they are also working to distribute the same chemical elements of the they distribute the same chemical elements of the what is it? The chemical. Oh yeah, the chemical elements that are behind the sort of addictive qualities of this. So, like you would at first be able to observe their development, how these nanites they seem to act in a simultaneously seemingly benevolent but also somewhat sinister method. They ensure that their host is healthy. They seem to very much be in um, a sort of symbiotic relationship with them of a sort, and certainly more so with the high levels of nutrients that are found in the food. However, they are also simultaneously they're working in such a manner that has effectively ensnared or would effectively ensnare whomever had consumed this food. Like the chemical compounds here would be very difficult for most people to break off from. Your analysis, I will say, to answer that main question there, it definitely suggests that these nanites are very resilient. They seem to co-opt the body's own defenses, so there's not really, um, as far as you can tell, there isn't an observable medical solution, although that is a little bit less your area of specialty. It falls outside of your experience, but there's not a lot of, from your understanding, there's not a lot of biological or chemical means that you could use to counteract these. The radiation, extreme as it is, might be the only regimen that could reliably do this.
Okay, but you mentioned they sort of only go active once they're ingested.
Yes.
The nanites.
Precisely.
Still have 2 free questions if anybody has ideas, and I'll drop a whatchamacallit, a momentum for the questions too.
All right. So Alonzo, former acquirer of certain things, former purveyor of exquisite tastes. When it comes to one as a criminal underworld, has he heard anything close to like this? whether it's the perfect food or these nanite bug things that are making people crazy. What?
So the nearest you could actually think of in terms of at least the strange perfection of the food here or the exacting qualities of it would have come from a merchant ship. You probably would have heard about a few years back. There's a mention that they had stopped by a repair station that seemed fully automated, and that um, things mostly went okay. They were able to accomplish the repairs with a relatively fair trade. They actually were able to find cuisine that otherwise should not have been there, some sort of matter energy conversion system that very exactingly replicated the qualities of the food, and it was a very enjoyable experience. It was slightly marred in that the repair went very poorly, or that there was an accident along the way and they wound up losing a crew member. But otherwise, they just considered it the cost of doing business, or rather, one of the accidents that can happen when a ship is exceptionally damaged.
All right. Do I know like the race that made that station, or any hints of what that could be?
Well,
Um,
nobody
is
is much.
only that one? Only that one, or is there other times that similar sort of stories come up?
Well, I mean, you've only ever heard of the one station. There might have been another story about it, but it was pretty intermittent.
All right. If you don't mind me taking another question, guys.
Go for it.
As a purveyor of many tastes, as depraved or specific as it can be, um, do I know any good way of handling the sort of like uh, ecstatic feeling or narcotic feeling that these nanites could do?
Hmm. Well, I would say in terms of any experience Alonso may have there, this is a particular.
Outside of the superior gender that happens with Orions.
Yeah, I would say that the insofar as this goes, at least for humans, this is a pretty sinister seeming bit of like sinister set of compounds that you're dealing with here, because it is very effective. You imagine that there might be some sort of counter agent that one could make if they were thinking expressly to look for it. It would be a bit of preparation and probably need the medical facilities to help you with this.
All right. Half joking, added to that question, how much money, how much latinum could you make from something like this?
Oh dear, oh dear. This is. I mean, if you started this up as a resort, then this could actually be quite an operation.
Uh, quick question to the GM. Since these are like, so we're tapping into like my talent for this, and the way that I assume this is sort of working is that the two of us are talking these questions over with each other, right?
Yeah. He's just sort of like his words are now kind of drifting into like business potential. Now he's mentioning about narcotics.
I think at that point I grab the muffin and I put it in like a stasis chamber.
Whoa. Look, I'm not gonna go against the boss's words or anything. Relax.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a chef. Shakes head.
I take your word for it, but I met you 5 minutes ago. Better safe than sorry, you know?
Sure, not like you actually. I don't imagine he tasted anywhere close to something like that. Anyways, like Anyway, there might be a few things you got to talk to your doctor, medical facilities. Usually, you can probably. I've heard some people taking care of that sort of narcotic behavior or that obsessive behavior with another drug or two, but there's actually like some something you can do medicine-wise to handle it, but I don't remember. Usually it was none of my business.
Understood. Well, thank you for your insights. They've been very helpful. And look forward to seeing what kind of muffins you can come up with in the canteen.
Certainly nothing like that average crap. Oh, we're having gyro with lamb.
Oh, what's the vegetarian option tonight?
He just stares at you, like you just insulted him. Really, I helped you, right here. I'll ask. Just anything else?
That'll be all. Thank you, chef.
Freaking Terrans and their discussions about other options. You fucking eat what you serve. Grizzly just mutters under his breath and storms off.
Oh. You were reasonably confident that Chef Nakamura has your back on this, Patel, but uh, yeah, that was an experience, and the information that at least the information you have here is going to be helpful.
Yep. And I'll sort of off camera pass it along via computers or whatever to anybody who needs it.
All right. Before we leave, Dr. Lambeth, is there anything that you wanted to do whilst on the ship? Outside of giving Conley the good or bad news?
Yeah, I don't think so.
All right.
I'm not sure what. Yeah, no, there's nothing he needs to do here.
All right. So, we'll cut back down to the surface then, where a little bit of time has elapsed. Shira, you were recently copied on the information from the rest of the crew. Um, so, Sharp and Romanov are both heading deeper into the grounds, as it were, and you are kind of left to your own devices. Now, I do need to ask, the makeshift grappling hook, was that pulled into the room, or has that just been left to hang outside, essentially?
That was pulled into the room, but I think we're holding it. We're carrying it with us.
Okay, just one.
We're not leaving any evidence.
Okay. So, Shira, you had stepped out of your EV suit in order to make the initial climbs. Have you gone back to the refrigeration? Are you sticking to wear without it for now?
I'll I'll go without for now, just in case I'm called upon to climb a wall or something.
Okay. um, well, while you're doing that, is there anything else you're trying to do to gain a sense of the grounds or get an idea of what the area is? What else may be going on? Any situational awareness or anything?
Um, Probably not straying too far from the castle, considering the horrible sheep-eating monster that was around.
Yeah. A probably wise idea. Nothing save for the balmy weather has sought to trouble you whilst you are out in the
Oh, I'm
courtyard area.
definitely keeping mostly to the shaded areas.
Certainly, certainly. Um, it's interesting how the sky is filtered out through the energy field. Uh, Based on your understanding of the planet, the cloud cover should seem a little more dense and the light a bit more harsh. Although by far the worst part of it would be the radiation that you wouldn't see. Um, However, the filtering effect that the energy field is having seems to have somehow thinned out the cloud layer and even affected some of the light as it transits through the atmosphere. That and the change in composition has it more closely resembling the blue skies that you might have seen either back in Sol or any other warmer planets that you had a tour of duty on. Not the most pleasant, but you can at least put up with it.
Yeah, it's tolerable.
Yes, yes. So, as you were setting about this, I'm actually, I'm going to remember what I was going to ask you to do. Hmm. Oh yes, insight and security, please, with a difficulty of 2.
Insight and security difficulty 2. Do any of my focuses count towards it?
What can you give me here?
I explosives.
Explosives do not apply.
Good. That's very good.
I,
So I haven't
I'm,
trod on a mine, or there's not an IED by what I'm walking past. So
you know,
already good so far.
I'm just taking a look here, and I don't see any focuses that really apply for this.
Okay, that's fine. In that case, I'll do the old bold security to get an extra die.
I will accept the wonderful, delicious threat.
Ooh, gonna re-roll that.
All right.
There we go.
So
3 successes.
that will be 3 successes, and that will also allow you to avoid a complication, which is always nice for the players. Um, so you take the opportunity, as you find a shadier place, you just gain a look around the garden, making sure that you have a good sense of the area in case there's any need for cover or a quick exit. It is a very well arranged garden, I'd say. Very neatly trimmed bushes and flowering plants in the area. Certainly the type of place that this so-called temperate class of world is. It's very stereotypical to what you would expect for that. Maybe a few less trees inside, but nonetheless some. Uh, there are even a few ponds about, and as you look to the nearest one, um, you actually see that there is a pretty much constant sort of wave pattern or trembling of sorts. A lot of waves and troughs. Almost, it's not quite the look of something boiling because it's not bubbling, but it's very much that sort of shaky pattern to the water.
Right. So like something's causing the water to move in this strange, peculiar fashion.
Indeed.
There's no. Do I feel like the ground rumbling at all, or is it just seemingly located
You
with
haven't
this pond?
you haven't felt it yet, but it's minor and it's possibly just at a stage where there could either be just some low-level trembling to indicate seismic activity. There could be something that is steadily growing, and the pond is just a little more attuned to it before you can truly feel it in the ground. Nonetheless, it is an indication of something unusual at work.
Does the pond have any wildlife in it?
It does not.
Does not. Okay.
Yes, the water is sort of perfectly glassy and transparent. It is not a very deep pond. You can make out the signs of like rocks and dirt, silt, and anything of the sort around there. It is a perfectly round pond setup, and there's nothing in the ground that would seem to suggest anything that would cause that.
Very strange. Yes. Wish I paid attention in hydrodynamic classes.
Water never really.
She'll grab a stone and throw it out into the water.
There's not sufficient. Give me a control security difficulty 1 just for the fluff.
Control security difficulty 1. There you go.
There's not much space for it to skip across, but you manage to do that, creating ripples and waves of your own. The pattern steadily returns back to the default trembling pattern that it had before.
Hmm.
And as we leave the scene, I'm going to say that you do notice that steadily the frequency of the changes is beginning to very steadily tick up. Elsewhere on the planet, Sharp and Romanov, you make your way down the staircase. As you descend past the level where the energy field seemed to have generated some interference, that is where that's where the area starts. There's a bit of a disconnect. So gradually, the stone walls actually give way to a general sort of more of a rock face in some sense, or like an earthen tunnel, as opposed to the steady engineered walls that you would have expected. Um, it's also very unusual insofar as while that steadily changes and it becomes less coherent, the sort of wooden staircase that you've been moving down, this relatively immaculate setup, seems to continue to like maintain that same level of coherence. It doesn't appear as though that area has changed a whole lot as you've come down. Um, any glance to your scanner seems to be a bit scrambled at the moment as you uh, move further and further down. And by the time you enter what would be that 5th level, I'm going to go ahead and move you over to a map where when you enter, it seems to be the area is not lit save for flashlight, and hold on, Romanov's token did not want to transfer for a moment. I figured.
Non-related, but Alazzo is done built. It's finished built.
Spectacular. Since he did get 1 activation to start with, he also does get
I'll give him a value called Culinary Miracle.
spectacular. Alright, so I'm going to move you over to this. Oop, I wound up taking the whole thing with me. Okay, moving you to this map here. So by flashlight, you can only make out sort of a vague pass in front of you. It seems to be a darker cave-like area.
No kidding. All right. Yep.
Yep.
Um,
The walls are very jagged and asymmetrical, I should say.
we do not have control of our tokens again.
Oh dear,
Yeah,
oh
I
dear.
think some's on roll 20.
No.
I've got a flashlight out right next to my phaser. I'm right behind her, covering her like she's used to. So I know how Mako's covered. I'll probably.
There we go. Your token should be fixed now, and I'm going to make sure that your token is permanently fixed.
Yeah, and I can't seem to get out of my character sheet either. I don't know.
Well, that unfortunately I can't help you with. There should be an
I'm gonna
X near
log
the top
out.
corner.
I'm gonna log out and log back in through another browser.
Okay.
It might be a browser issue. I usually don't have problems with Firefox, but
Yeah, I'm using Firefox and it's working fine.
yeah, see, it should be just fine through Firefox. I suspect it's a Roll20 issue. Sometimes this is, game time for a lot of people. Their servers, maybe.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna pop over here to the side.
Okay.
And I'm gonna peek around. I still have a pillowcase over my flashlight to diffuse the light a little bit, just so it is not.
I'm just going to do it with the tip of my hand. I'm holding the flashlight in my hand to just diffuse the light, but I can control it immediately.
Yeah. But I'm just gonna peek around the corner.
All right. Give me an insight and. Well, I guess I will give you security for this roll.
Cool.
This is our big chance to bond, Captain.
Didn't know such things were needed. Just says very quietly.
Difficulty will be. I'm going to say difficulty of 3 on this.
Ooh boy. All right. I'm gonna use an extra, a token, and so I can get third die if I can, and could you assist in some manner?
Yeah, what do you want me to do?
Somewhere to help look better. I don't know. Think something.
I can do an assist to your search for 1 die, or I can do a separate search. It's up to you.
In the case of separate searches, I would award. I will only award momentum on the basis of whoever succeeds more if one of you happen to get it. So that.
So
How about just an assist?
Okay, control and security.
No, insight and security.
Insight, security, 1 died. I'm rolling my assist now if there's no.
Okay.
Yeah.
There
Okay.
you go.
With 4 successes, your initial peek around is going to showcase what seems to be a bit more of a jagged tunnel. But as you peer around, you find it opens up quite a bit more. There are sort of stalagmite formations you can make out. It's very weird insofar as with your initial peer through, they seem to have been. They seem a bit curved outward, essentially, or like rather they're curved towards you, as if the stone were sort of melted and reshaped, and something kind of wore away at them in a sense. It's a fascinating geological formation if you had any fascination with geology. I don't think either of you
Well,
do,
not
however.
right now, because we're walking into probably the hornet's nest.
No.
So
You
she's very focused on her game right now.
you do
Something Sharp knows, her skill set is, it's not entirely Starfleet. Her security skill set is a bit above what is listed in her records.
Okay.
That's fair.
So someone
I
you know is a total pro.
Any other signs of like animals or
no immediate signs of flora or fauna, but there is one other thing you notice. With the relative control that you are exerting for your lights, you actually notice that there is a bit of a glint from these stones. It doesn't appear to be that they have a light quality of their own, but that there is something very dull and reflected, or there's something that they are reflecting off of.
I'm going to examine that because that could be important. I will use my tricorder. I'll just give a fist hold for a stop to Sharp, and I'll head up to the wall and scan it or sample it, whichever
well,
is
it's these, right? These things are giving off the glint or
Yes,
the
they
wall.
are
all
they are
around.
reflecting some sort of light.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
these
it's
two
not
things.
all the walls, it's just this one. Okay, well then I just gesture that I want to check that out.
Yep. She'll just draw her phaser, not into a full-on directional aggressiveness, but just in hand, as she will make her way over and try to keep an eye on everything.
Yep.
And I'm going to use my tricorder to analyze this thing
Uh,
and see
as
what it's about.
as you make it around the corner, I'm going to say this is still partly blocked off, but you do get the sense of some sort of light source further up the corner, and that the as you begin to get a readout, I will just factor in as part of the roll that there's a clear indication that these rocks were at some point disturbed in some manner by some sort of high energy contact of some sort. As a matter of
Okay.
fact, I might actually ask for a separate roll here. Yes, let's make this a reason and science difficulty 4.
Can I apply my computer since I have a tricorder and a data pad? Meaning I can model this
Yeah, I don't know.
gas explosion based on what's happened to the materials.
Mm, I feel like that's a stretch.
I feel like it is too, but you can't blame me for trying.
Absolutely
Okay,
not.
so then, do you want me to spend momentum on this, guys, or just a straight task roll? And what's the difficulty?
The difficulty of this reason and science task is going to be 4.
Ooh. So you can approach this with either using determination to give yourself a crit, so you get 2 extra successes automatically. You could add a third die in there. Uh, fourth die might be expensive because that's 3 out of the 4 we currently have. Um, I don't know. What's other people's opinions?
I'll definitely spend a determination on this. Every problem has a solution, so that'll give me 2 successes. What do you guys think? I spend 1 for momentum. That'll give me 3 dice plus 10 plus 2, and I'd like to invoke power systems. There was a power was blown out here. I'm very familiar with those kinds of damages and stuff. I think something happened here, and this is part of what happened.
Hmm.
Although electro power systems is a weak thing. The
Yeah,
only
this definitely. I mean, there was probably some sort of expression of kinetic energy here, but an EPS focus is that's very shipboard and specific to the like the use of the plasma system that helps power the ship in there.
I also have reverse engineering and weapons engineering, if either of those would apply.
Unfortunately, I think that this is more of an issue of geology, as it were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then I'd like to spend 1 momentum, if the group allows, for 3 dice. Plus, I have
Go
2
for it.
determination, 2 successes already.
Okay,
Go for
which value were you invoking again?
Every problem has a solution.
Okay, so that will give you the automatic critical success.
Okay.
And
here's my roll with 1 momentum spent. So
that
Nice.
is a total
4.
of. Yep, that's going to buy you back the. So that is the 4 successes right there, and with the automatic critical success, that is going to give you back 2. So what you very quickly realize, Aleska, like as you run analysis on the, as you run sensor analysis with the uh, hand scanner that you have, it takes you a bit of time to realize where you recognize readings like these before, but undoubtedly in some of the previous survey missions that you did when you were aboard the level, and yes, that was the proper use of that, um,
Right.
you recall that you've helped science teams with something like this before. You've surveyed impact craters before.
Okay.
And while the area you would typically associate with the geological shifting and like residual signs of like melted glass and other sort of interesting compositions, usually those readings you would expect to see in a very large open pit and not in a small underground cavern. But you nonetheless realize that is pretty much the readout that you are getting. You also realize that from this, the way that the area has sort of been reoriented around you, although it is very rough, it seems to be something somewhat protective, or it seems as though the area has been reshuffled further to sort of confine this area a bit further, and based on what geological readings you get, you are very near where the center of the crater is.
I'll
Or
explain
if
all
a
that to
crater
Sharp
exists.
quickly. As I'm working, I explain it to Sharp so she knows exactly what's going on.
Yep. I will look back over here really quickly just to double check so we're not being followed or hearing any sounds, but I'm going to make my way close to the light source in that typical Star Trek sort of fashion as the things are being explained.
And that is when you see it, Greystoke. You shot.
Wrong character. Wrong
Uh,
character.
Sharp, yes, of course.
Yep.
A completely different character from a completely different Daedalus class game with a completely different starship.
Yep.
In a completely different Enterprise era game. Anyway, that's when you see it. When you reach out your light to it, the area around it seems to illuminate as much as you would expect, save for an area around this. It is eerie insofar as there's just sort of a shroud of darkness, but within that darkness, very clearly, very vividly, it almost at once seems liquid, it seems metallic, much like an inverted teardrop, just floating above a slightly more indented bit of the ground is an object you would put approximately 3 meters in height from from end to end. In spite of the limited light sources, it appears to have a quality of illumination all of its own, or illumination frankly doesn't seem right to describe exactly what this is doing, because it would seem more as if it itself were reflecting something. The longer you look at it, the more like the light patterns you're not entirely sure what they give off. It could be stars, solar systems, something distant in the cosmos. It could be fractal patterns that go on just endlessly.
I want to analyze the light, just capture it with the tricorder, see what frequencies are there.
Your scanner at this point is getting all sorts of confused readings as the energy field around you seems to be. It seems strong, but it seems to be fluctuating in most unusual ways.
I'll explain that to Shar. The energy readings are fluctuating in an unusual way, nothing standard.
Only in Star Trek as GM, though I have to ask this. Does my instincts tell me that this thing is sentient or semi-sentient?
It is impossible to discern just by looking at it. If it were sapient or anything close to that, then um, so far as you can immediately discern, it doesn't appear to either it cannot sense your presence, it is not making any response to your presence, and if it desired to make that response, there's no noticeable way that it could acknowledge your presence.
She will pull out her communicator and I'll say, sharp to Shira.
Here.
We might have found the source to all of this, some cosmic entity.
Cosmic entity underneath a castle.
It's a lot more common than you think, she says under her breath. She too looks around a little bit. Can you relay to the ship the scans that we're making?
Yeah, I will relay to the ship, especially the light patterns, and ask that. And will you run that through the universal translator? See if the light patterns are communicating in any particular way.
I don't think if this thing needs that. If it wants to talk, it'll talk if it's alive in the first place.
It may not be capable of communicating with us directly.
It's tried. It's just if it is alive, she'll just like kind of pivot around it, not trying to get a little no further than around here.
Sir, while I've got you on a communicator, I was by a pond just now and it started.
Happy thoughts right now, Lieutenant. I am near
That's
a
nice,
cosmic
happy
entity.
thoughts, sir. But yeah, I was by a pond and it started. Well, the water was behaving unusual for a very small body of water. Then it seemed to stop. Didn't think anything. Didn't think it was urgent, but which is why I didn't contact you immediately. But thought you might want to know.
Give it a wide berth.
Yes, sir.
Relay the info to the ship. Just want to let you know we're still safe.
Yes, sir.
She'll turn off the close the communication and say, think and say in the direction of that thing. She fucking doesn't remember it. Do telepaths. Hello. I mean you no harm. If you're alive or some sort of system. Does it respond at all?
It remains motionless and otherwise non-reactive, near as you can tell.
Okay. I'm taking closer step, very slow steps Is there any sort of like uncomfortable feeling as I get closer outside of my, paranoia?
Nothing as you get close to it.
Is this like an absolute void, or is it just the crater?
This appears to be so. You can make out that there is a slight increase, it like slightly deeper indented bit where this, going off the speculation you have, where it could have landed, but it doesn't appear to be that deep. Think of it more as a just sphere of black that is otherwise around this thing, which seems consistent as you have pivoted around. It's almost as if, and in some ways, I think the metaphor would, well, metaphorically, this is something that you could guess at, although there are no gravitational readings to correspond this. Imagine, as if you will, when an object were to pass over the event horizon of a black hole. The light would seem to be, the light would make that thing seem to appear as if it were unchanged. But
I look at my my zippers, even though they probably don't exist because Roddenberry doesn't like zippers. But I look at some little dongle I have. Does it feel like it's motioning towards that event horizon?
There's nothing that suggests an alternative gravitational pull, or nothing to suggest that this is actually a singularity. If it had, you probably would have been well with it. Like, while
I'd be screwed.
Yeah,
I'd be screwed. Yeah,
you would have been screwed the moment the shuttle pod touched down.
Yeah, if not the entire fucking system, if it was this big.
And it also doesn't follow in the same way that like the light is trapped here, because when you think about it, if you were viewing an object that were caught in the event horizon, if you pivoted around to another side of the black hole, or if you viewed it from different angles, the light wouldn't have traveled that way.
No.
Whereas this, since you've said that you've rounded it a little bit, this looks consistent.
All right. She just takes a deep breath, sighs, grunts. I'm getting tired of this. Tisode, get your ass down here.
Within a very short time, as a matter of fact, within moments, and immediately behind Romanov. What are you doing down here? The West Wing was forbidden.
I understand that, but you have a number of crew members who are currently indisposed that I would like back. I would like to understand what is going on. I mean nothing but peace, but there are certain things that...
What are you talking about? I don't have the... I don't have any more of your crew that are already here, and you are free as guests.
I understand, and I am sorry. What is this? Why are we blocked from the West Wing? Is something to do with it?
He's trying to look and grasp for the words. It's very... He kind of stares into it a moment. It is...
I think you're understanding how I'm trying to approach this, Zach.
Yeah.
It has nanites. So it has nanites. Surely, if it's talking through if it's working through nanites, then it could probably communicate through to Sode. That's my deduction.
It's what is left.
Something crashed here, right?
Yes, long ago. I will say at this point, Crichton, with whatever feed he's getting from the sensors, would have immediately at least informed Patel. So this could be broadcast if it were so desired.
Yeah, I'll broadcast it. I'll discreetly broadcast.
So you would get a bit of audio and some sensor telemetry for those on the ship who wish to be a part of it, Patel and Lambeth included. It was once. There was more, but it's. This is all that remains of it. It was. It is not whole now. It separated some time before.
Well, we might be able to help you with all this stuff.
Commander.
You were created to interact with travelers like us. Where are...
Romanov.
Yes.
I
Let him
could
finish.
just see her. I could totally see Romanov just going on. In fact, I invited if you so wish.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know if I was interrupting somebody. That was just...
No. It's just the captain like trying to let the component finish its explanation before you try to interrupt it. She wants to understand this thing.
Then please keep going. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh no! I'm here to help you. Is there anything I can do for you? Do you require
Well,
refreshments?
You mentioned that this is the last remaining piece. What was it trying to do before then? Why did it make this castle? Why does it need the crew?
For it may. It is for you.
For me.
Is it not to your liking? Says, gesturing to
It's
both of you.
It's lovely. It's very lovely. But what happened to the Crozier? The crew of the Crozier? Why did it need all of its power? Why are the crew in rooms in near stasis?
They.
Saturated with nanites.
You misunderstand. I cannot find the crew of the Crozier. I do not know what happened to them.
You have its captain.
It is not that simple. I wish I don't entirely know how to. He looks as though he's struggling again to find the precise words. As 2 points of threat drop, and I introduce a narrative complication in the form of increasing trembling in the chamber.
She'll just look around, a little worried, and raise her voice. Patel, what's going on?
I get back on the bridge. Camera shifts over to me, like checking my console. Is there anything on sensors?
Yep. From the back aboard the bridge, which I'll go ahead and give us a quick jump over there just as soon as I hide a couple characters real quick. All right. Give me just a quick insight and no, reason and science rather, difficulty of 2 since you're playing through the energy field. Actually, no, that would go down to 1 with the advanced sensor suites. All right. The ship can assist if you want the extra roll for momentum, but otherwise I can give you exactly what you wish. Back on the bridge, Patel, you move over and peer into you peer into that sort of the viewer on the that you can peer your eyes through, and you see that there's increasing signs. from based on Romanov's scanner and what the ship is piecing together, there's signs of localized seismic disturbances. They seem to be consistent with what you detected just a short time before the creature emerged, although it seems both not quite as intense and slightly more diffuse.
This looks like Woolsworth's Bane. Captain, it looks like you have some kind of seismic activity happening in your area, and I think it may have something to do with the subterranean crustaceans that attacked the sheep.
Great. How soon before they show up to my location?
Can I estimate a trajectory on like the movement or
The
the disturbances? I guess.
Based on the telemetry that's coming off of Romanov's analysis, you think that there could be some contacts of a sort, probably in under a minute.
It's going to be imminently, Captain. Should we try to beam you up?
Not yet. She will.
Assuming Shira's on this conversation, she's going to just start running, I guess, in the direction of the captain. But she's probably a bit more than a minute away.
Yep. It's like back through the manor, through the nice rooms, through the dressing room, probably booking it over a
Down secret
table.
stairs.
Yep. Sliding down the banister.
She'll go ahead.
Across the jungle gym, swinging from a few vines. Just stock footage. Rush across different monuments, across different planets and continents.
Some very Legends of the Hidden Temple happening.
Exactly.
I'm gonna just pipe down to an NPC at the transporter bay to maybe stand by, just in case.
Okay.
I'm prepping for, I guess we're over by the object because hopefully that provides us. We're still standing by the object, right? Fairly close to it.
Oh, I had you a little further down. We'll move back to the other map here.
You moved closer to Sod. Sharp was closer to the component.
Okay, I'm moving closer to the component so that we're tactically within range of one another.
She'll say likely they have been eaten by the local fauna over time. If this shake has anything to do with it.
I warned them not to go out about the grounds.
Why do you need if your systems don't defend us right now so close to itself, it's going to remain here with no other guests.
You're right.
Can it deal with it?
Tussaud looks and thinks. As it does, the rumbling becomes more pronounced, and there's a loud scratching as claws begin to emerge from 3 different sites. Three somewhat smaller versions. You would guess either the form that Patel encountered was either a more advanced form, or these are something younger and less developed, but 3 of them come out all at once. Start digging their way through as Tussaud considers. I must protect the guests. With that, Tussaud will roll here, and I think that qualifies as a value, so he will gain an automatic critical success on this roll. Oh no!
Oh God!
Oh no!
Wow. Wow.
Could
Double
Oh my
natural
god.
20s.
can we buy those off? We have 5 momentum right now. Can we
Yeah,
buy those off and remove the crit
I
from it?
yeah, I think that
So we lose 4.
yeah, yeah. Sorry about that. I would this whole thing's just a bit much for the old man.
She will, noticing the hesitation, and it's probably doing something that's like it's trying to do something, but it can't work. She will feel inspired and hearing Patel about the transporter, um, and everything in the situation around her, she will say, Patel, do the transporters have sight to sight?
That is not
I'm gonna.
lingo you are familiar with.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no.
Can it transport outside of it, outside the transporter room, from one location to another?
God, I wish the engineer were here. I don't believe so, Captain. No,
Uh, I'll say
I can.
over the comm line. Wait, are they serious? They want us to beam from one location to a pad to another location. Is that what I'm hearing?
Just do it, she says. Just focus, target my communicator, and do so on my order. You have maybe a minute to figure it out, she says as she backs up, trying to pull everybody with her so she can bunch up these 3 things.
No. I will say that with the critical, well, since you bought off the double complication, Tussaud pauses for a moment, and he just says, "Stop!" and raises both hands. There is immediate sort of static light effects around the creatures as what seems to be some sort of energy fields constrain their limbs as they struggle to start moving forward.
All right. I'm going to instruct you guys very carefully, she says. Who's the next engineer besides Romanov?
So
And come here.
outside of Romanov, we have um, so there is Chief Vernier, who you might have heard over the comms. He's actually the quartermaster, who just happened to be near the transport station. The proper transporter chief should be Chief Jemison, who you've not met, but they are a very capable transporter NPC.
Okay. It was Fernier and what? I'm sorry for the second one.
Jemison would be the proper transporter chief.
Jemison, you said?
Yeah, Jemison. He's in the ship NPCs
Okay.
folder.
Yeah. All right. Jemison Fernier. This is something the Makos have learned recently. Follow my instructions very quickly. And I don't care if it blows out the transporter room. And I'm gonna use my value here. And I want to try to engineer basically throwing these 3 things into space.
Okay, so you're you're giving them very clear and careful instructions to do so.
Yep.
All right, I think that we can treat this as a direct action. So
And I will put I don't start fights, but I finish them for my value.
okay, um, well, I guess in this case the transporter action would be more. Right, I guess you can shift the critical success to their pool plus the roll an assist roll if you like. This is
Yes.
slightly weird circumstances to do it, but that would apply. So Jemison is going to roll with 2 successes going for that. With the operating through the energy field as they are, and given that you are beaming from one location to a pad to another location, this is going to still be it's going to be a very high difficulty type roll. So I guess it's going to be a weird chain type thing. So I think for the era, this actually has to be a difficulty 5 in order to make it work.
Well, it gets 2.
Yeah. So 2 plus your assist, plus the transporter chief, and technically the ship does assist with transporters as well. I'm double
And
checking.
then we'll throw one more die. We have the last token. If people are okay with it.
Yep, do it.
Good.
Okay.
All right. What was it? What was the roll we have to make?
You have to make a command and
Daring?
control. Oh, daring and command roll. Yes, I think that would be
Sweet.
appropriate.
Yep. All right. And for extra die.
The momentum will go into Jemison's pool.
This is the most gambles of gambles. I am gambling.
Actually, they have an emergency transport talent, which so they could use daring instead, but their daring is 8 versus 11 control, so that would not wind up helping you as much. But it does reduce the difficulty by 1.
Yeah. What was plan of action again?
So as I understand it, you were relaying very specific orders and instructions.
No. The plan of action talent on for Star Trek characters. There's a talent called plan of action.
I understand what you are asking now, and that, if memory serves, is a command division talent. So I'm opening up my book here and double checking those rules for you now. So, plan of action. Whenever an ally succeeds at a task that was made possible or had reduced difficulty because of an advantage created by the character, if that advantage represented a plan or strategy, they generate 2 bonus momentum. Bonus momentum cannot be saved into the group pool. So, in essence, I suppose you are kind of creating an advantage, not in the conventional sense, but your orders are doing so. Indeed, I'd say the way that you are invoking your determination for this, or rather invoking your value and spending the point of determination would be consistent with that. So, should you succeed, or should this dice roll succeed, you will immediately gain 2 bonus momentum for immediate usage.
Yep, cool.
It could buy off a complication if it comes up.
Yep. Right. That is all I have. Let's go.
All right. I'm going to, for Jemison's pool,
Yes.
I'm going to spend a threat to increase the complication range just a little bit. So
Just needs one success. Just needs one success, and we're solid.
Oh boy, yep.
Yes.
And the ship also does get to roll. I believe going back into the engineering task guide, that would be with a power requirement of 1, a control and engineer, or rather a sensors and engineering roll from the ship. So, would somebody care to handle that very quickly?
Ship. Where's the ship? Nope, that's Critter again. Don't care about him. So what was it?
Sensors and engineering.
Also
Nice.
Sweet.
All right. So for all of you, either surrounding this young Mako captain, or on the bridge listening over the comm line, Colonel Sharp delivers a very, very concise and technical explanation on how precisely to modulate the annular confinement beam, how to effectively use the targeting sensors and how to help cycle the transport through the pads. It's Romanov, you might take notes for later because this could actually be a nice way to refine the transporter procedures.
Fair enough.
It's
I will
certainly
take note.
not standard, not standard as far as any of you knew, but it's not something you would have expected out of this late 20s-ish Mako kernel. For everyone else, the instructions are followed to the letter. The sensor lock is they verify sensor lock and manage to lock on through the energy field as dense as it is, with the help of the advantage that you created in terms of the transmitter that gives them just enough that steadily all of the creatures begin to take on a different shimmer from the existing force fields, and they all begin to just dissolve into the sort of bluish white light of the transporters that compress in on itself. And the three of them find themselves as the first and only members of their species to ever make it to orbit. They die very soon afterwards, but hey, they did it.
Wow, we're in orbit. Oh my god, it's cold.
Is there like a bowl of petunias there next to him?
Yes. And
Deep
yes,
dive.
the internal monologue was, oh no, not again. Yes, improbable ceramics.
Is that communicator for the extra communicator fried? Because we just
Oh yes,
put a
very
lot
likely.
of data through.
Yeah, you do lose contact with the away team in that sub area, and the away team will lose contact with the ship.
Excellent call, Captain.
She takes a deep breath, straightens out her
Sure.
uniform.
I'm going to give you a little pip in engineering. I'll give you credit for a cadet tour through engineering for that one.
Not needed, Commander, but thank you. All right. So, you were saying, Tissode.
I tried to tell them not to go about the grounds, but they insisted. They needed to look around. They were trying to find their shuttle pod.
They were trying to find their shuttle pod?
Yes, well, both of them.
I see.
Romanov, as Tissot says this, you see the ground that had holes burst from it begin to coalesce back into place. There's an unusual sort of texturing that seems to run over it as it reforms, essentially.
Right.
Why the nanites to the crew? Why the nanites to the captain? Why had the captain immobilized in such a fashion? What are you seeking?
Tissot looks for a moment, and finally something connects for him. I was trying to understand and rebuild. Yes, they were here, and they came to help us as much as we tried to help them. And then we couldn't find them, or not in a form we could recognize. It was so very taxing that we tried to fix this, but it. You are so simple and yet so complex.
That's what a lot of aliens say.
She just side eyes the commander, but just looks back over to Tissot. If you needed help, we had no need of your assistance in the nanite area. We're people who are more than
Oh,
gregarious and uh, outgoing.
well, we had to see to the well-being of our guests. We structure everything in that manner. Something to maximize your comfort, your enjoyment here.
And instead, it became intoxicating and compromised judgment for our people. We understand the mistakes happen, but surely you understand what has happened here, right?
I I do not fully know. I don't understand precise. Oh, he trails off for a moment and runs his hand through his beard. I need you to know that there's no malice in this. This is just. It was all for the sake of protection, for your health and well-being, and this. I thought it was designed in the best way for you to stay and to enjoy your stay here.
Now I understand. The only thing we both can do is mend what fences we can and move forward. You said you needed help. We can do our best to provide that help within the limits of our capabilities. But those capabilities don't need to be improved upon. There's always flaws, and to some extent, there is value in those flaws.
Um,
Out of
very.
character, how's my Star Trek captain going? I'm trying here.
You're doing a great job.
Yep.
Good job, Skipper.
Cool. All
I.
right, back to character.
Yep. Do we. You. Your people, the Crozier, provided much help. They've provided us power to keep going.
I've noticed.
We no longer have the people to care for. We have no function.
Where were you from? Is there any way we can get you back there?
He thinks it does. I do not know. The separation was so very long, and I I don't. I cannot match it to any description. It simply is. It was a great time well before.
Can you repeat that last part?
It was just so long before, and we have no conception of the time.
I see. Was this world your destination, or did you have another location you wish to go?
Oh, we did not plan to come here. This was an accident, mistake, and a rounding error. I More words are coming, but none quite match the descript. Tuso kind of clutches his head a little bit. I do not fully understand.
Maybe there is some way, if you can remember where you wish to go, so we can help you get there without the issue of loneliness.
You would you would take us and this place away?
You offered this place as comfort for the guests that have arrived. And as you said, there is very little need of that at the current moment. But this is also not your home. I am simply, as the common phrase for my people would be, offering you a ride to where you need to go. Even if it's just giving you enough power to get you there.
To show things for a moment. The power. We still have some power reserves. There's much being expended to maintain the energy fields and nanites that reshape everything. If you were to do this, we could not sustain this place. We could no longer care for all that is here, all who would come.
As gracious as you are as a host, I think it is time for the host to be taken care of.
I agree.
I will ask you to roll a presence and command roll to persuade Tuso of this.
Okay,
This.
first off, I have a roll to make. Challenge roll.
Oh yeah,
Go.
roll a single challenge die.
Nope. Nope, nothing.
Now
All right.
roll it again because it didn't register you rolling the first time.
Yeah, it literally rolled 0 dice.
Yeah.
Good on roll 20.
This is a known glitch with this particular type of character sheet. That's why I always.
Super no.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. I wish I saved that one. All right, presence and command. You said.
Yes, I will say for the sake of role play here that I will confer you the extra die in order to.
Cool. We also have some extra momentum as well at the current moment, right? Because it was 5. I put 2 for my critical, or gave the 2 critical, had 2 dice there. We rolled 4 more.
Yeah,
over
yeah.
our limit. So I'm going to spend 3 more, if that's fine with everybody, to get 2 additional dice. And then leaves 1 left. At least 2 left, and I'm going to create the further advantage of that, because we're nearing the end of this session, or this adventure, anyways, right, people?
Yes, I believe so.
So if I can, I would like these last 2 to create additional advantage, or something else. Well, I could do something else with momentum, right?
I think that. So you picked up. I'm looking back over the roll. It looks like you'd have 4 on top of the 1 that you had in your pool, so that'd be a total of 5. So 3 of those could buy you 2 additional die. So yes, you would have 2 more in order to create the advantage.
Where is the players reference momentum spending general, right?
Yes.
Obtain information, create a problem, create advantage. Given the fact that we've shown no hostility, and if anything, have been trying to be very gracious, I am trying to communicate through diplomacy in that nature of returning the same sort of cultural jingoism, more or less. I even have diplomacy as a focus. So, yeah, I'm trying to speak in their relative language, as it were. Their former culture.
Would you use this to say? I get. So I guess since you were trying to convince Tuso to kind of differ from a directive, I will, on top of whatever you roll, I will make it, rather whatever Tuso rolls, I will subtract 1 from that to reflect essentially his programming more or less going away.
Right. Okay. All right. Here we go, people. Fingers crossed. Oh,
Mhm.
So you do persuade him. You're,
D-
you're
Is
right.
that
It's
0?
there is a 0 there, or rather a complication in that roll. I'll go ahead and
but
ask. Yeah,
we have that 2 momentum plan of action.
that's right. You do have the bonus
So I
momentum
will
that
buy
still
that.
hasn't
I
come.
will finish it off and pay off that.
Spectacular. Oh, that saved you from a timed run. Tissot looks up and is like, "You, we, yes, it is time. We must leave this place. If we disrupt the field, then we should have the power to do so. Just no, not quite enough. We will require slightly more power, I think, to fully disrupt this. It should not take much. That he looks to Romanov's scanner there, and moves to touch it. With your permission.
Yes.
He makes contact, and there's a bit of a shimmer from around it. You realize there's a slight, it's almost imperceptible, but a very slight stream of something between you and the scanner. It shifts the projection a bit. What is a minor bit of power for Tussaud would actually suggest a good portion of the main power emitted in a coherent beam. It would not completely drain the ship, or it would certainly not go to the same extremes as what happened with the Crozier, but this power transfer would be it'd be a whopping amount. Their lights might go down for a moment, and you wouldn't want to, or you wouldn't immediately be able to go to warp or anything like that.
Is the interference field gone?
Um, Not as such.
All right.
Do if you can provide us that, we can leave.
She'll nod. Okay. And then, if you excuse me, honored guests. She gives a respectful bow. I will try to fulfill your task, the task you need.
I hope you enjoyed your stay. I certainly enjoyed caring for all of you.
It has
Well, you
It
certainly
was a
been
good life.
you
an adventure.
you have
If
been an incredible host.
if I may ask, does the would you also be destroyed, Tisod? Or would you remain being as you are?
I would have no function to continue, nor would I
Part
be
of
sustained elsewhere.
being human is to find function.
Well, let my duty of care for this and for you and for that which still needs cared for, gesturing to the object, let that be my function.
She'll nod and give a straight face. Very well. Then, if you excuse me, Lieutenant Commander, let's go.
Let's get out of here.
Uh, she'll make her way upstairs, which I'm sure Shira is running down still.
Yep. Shira, you just make your way down the final steps when you see Sharp and Romanov moving back up towards the stairs,
You haven't
probably
been
out of
eaten.
breath.
Ah, thank God.
It's
You took
I'm
care of the monsters?
They are hopefully not the ship's concern. She says, like, trying to side eye myself.
Why
at
would
work.
they ever be the
Let's-
ship's concern?
We'll discuss it later. At the moment, we need to grab the
Yes, sir.
captain and get above the interference field.
Yes, sir. Okay. So warm down here.
Got a good workout, she says, with a
Oh,
small.
good cardio, yes.
Okay.
Could just use an ice bath now.
Shiro begins to
I
ponder
will-
the notion of a long, luxurious ice bath.
I'm gonna grab the captain of the Crozier, who snapped out of the whole thing.
No, he has remained if you go back up to that room, he remains just standing in place, unresponsive.
That's a problem.
But
So
if you could drag him along.
she says, yeah, I'll drag him along, and I'll call the ship, captain to Aegis.
Do I pick up the phone or does Crichton?
Crichton, well, the Aegis here. Oh, sir, I have Colonel Sharp again.
Put her on.
With that, the audio channel open.
Patel, did the modification work, or do we have any zoology problems on the ship?
By all indications, it worked. GM, did we get any damage to the transporters or anything, or is that all still fine?
Everything is fine, although the engineers are somewhat baffled by the procedure they just enacted.
Yeah, I think you're going to have to put the engineering team through some kind of a seminar or something when you get back, Captain, but everything's fine.
All right, and I speak with a clear mind, clear head. You can even have the scan me right now, if need be, through my communicator. But it seems as though our host needs to get home and needs a bit more power. I'm giving authorization, if you concur.
If the engineer's on board, then I see no reason why not.
I'm on board.
Oh, Romanov is. You're all on the. They're all on the surface still, because you guys are signaling from the planet.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sure she shouts to the communicator, like, I'm on board.
Yeah, I'm standing next to her,
Yeah.
so I'll hear the conversation.
Okay. Yeah. What? Go ahead.
She'll just bring up a voice. Tisod, and just wait for Tisod to show up, materialize wherever he is.
Yep. After a short time, he does indeed show up.
Where do you need the power to be transferred, and how can you bring my companion here, gesturing to the Crozier's captain, back into consciousness?
Oh, you don't understand. I've been trying to rebuild him. I tried when I could not find any of them. I tried to constitute them anew.
Oh.
She just raises her head in a slow nod. I see.
I'm
All right.
sorry.
No, you're fine.
Wow.
All right. Where should we direct the power to Sod?
This structure will do nicely, he says as he. Did you just make for the ceiling of the roof rather of the main tower, or did you proceed to the? Are you on like the exterior grounds now?
On the exterior grounds.
Okay. Yes, then he just points up to the western wing. Really, any targeting with this will work. It was all conductive last time.
Is Shuttle Beta still operational? She says to Patel.
Yes, sir.
All right, bring a shuttle down. No need for EVA suits. But make it a bit quick. We're probably not. Our stay is probably not going to be very long.
Understood. And I nod over to the home console.
Yep. Conley's like, well, Woolsworth might not be there, but I can still rescue the rest of the crew at least. Can we evacuate the sheep? Do we have time for that?
Patel smiles and says, "Maybe bring that up with the colonel once you've landed."
Alright. So Conley will set to it, and another few minutes will pass, and the shuttle pod will begin to descend into the atmosphere after launching from the Aegis. On the surface, or like while Patel's on the line, do any of you wish to say anything else or converse?
She will say, no, that can wait. She will communicate. I will let you know, Lieutenant Commander, when to send the power. She'll just look over to Sode. Thank you for all the hospitality you've given. And I hope that the rest of your journey goes well.
As do I. I hope that that there should be another meeting. That when wherever it arrives, wherever we should find ourselves, that we should meet your people again.
So just give a nod and a smile. Until then, is there anything else that you need of us? It would be ill of us hosts to not provide.
None that I can think of. Can I leave you with anything?
Just look over to Romanov, then look over and say, Patel, last call.
Nothing from my side, Captain.
Patel already has his souvenirs.
Yeah, that once that muffin is safe to eat, I'm digging in.
Perhaps deactivate all the nanites still about that are about the items.
Good suggestion.
Oh, I will send the. We will transmit the appropriate code once in orbit. I will make sure the nanites are disengaged and properly disrupted.
Thank you very much.
But anyway, with that, there's a.
There is one, like, she's about to part and then pauses. There is one small request. And if we switch over to the shuttle, if nobody else has anything else.
Yeah, I'll say that as there's a boom in the atmosphere, and as the shuttle pod enters and begins to drop down, the roar of its thrusters slowing its descent and allowing it to glide in.
I want to create a small sheep plushie for Conway.
Tuso raises his hands, and seemingly stitched out of nothing, the what seems at first just to be fluff appearing in his hands, and then converging, congealing, and taking a shape, gives you the an enlarged, plushy sheep beanie baby type thing. Here you are. We also have the T-shirts. It's like he produces two T-shirts. I wasn't eaten by the crab monster, and I met an alien probe and all I got was this lousy shirt.
That's
Nice.
Romanov's thing.
Yep.
Romanov has that T-shirt.
Oh God, Romanov's going. She's had that T-shirt for a while, hasn't she?
He has.
Oh dear. Anyway, I think that this is an appropriate moment to smash cut back up to the bridge. There is a momentary establishing shot of the ship as the shuttle pod comes back on board, and we enter onto the bridge where I would say that what happens? Shira and Sharp enter the bridge. Romanov can be there as well, or can be down in engineering. What would be to your preference? Sorry? Say again there, Brian?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
I was just
yeah.
asking,
Yeah,
did you
no,
want to be on the...
I'm on the bridge. I'm following Sharp at the moment, unless I'm needed in engineering.
Okay,
I think I can.
there is technically an engineering or damage control station which you could monitor the beam emission from, but
That's what I'm going to do then.
Yep, so we will cut there. Conley also comes back from the bridge, comes back to the bridge from his time in the shuttle pod. Patel and Dr. Lambeth, presuming you're there, you would notice that he is snuggling a sheep plushie that he seems to have come back on, or come back with.
Gonna guess it's named Woolsworth Jr. Just as a thought.
Very perceptive, he says, plopping it right on the in the middle of the navigational console. Okay, Captain, we are in position in a good orbit over the planet.
Excellent. Well, this wasn't so bad for our first mission. Right next door, even. She looks over to Patel with a smile. Still afraid of this chair?
Ask me again later, Captain.
Right. All right. Romanov, if everything, let's try to give a bit of gas for our gas, shall we?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Begin the process.
Control and engineering assisted by engines and engineering. And that will
Somebody
be...
want to roll for engines and engineering? And
Yep. This will be difficulty 2, and this will consume all but one of your points of power.
okay, so I'm rolling control and engineering.
Correct?
And I have electroplasma systems
That
and
is...
computers as focuses.
The EPS definitely applies here.
Okay.
So you're managing this without completely draining the ship or starving all of its systems.
Right. And just as a precaution, before we do this, I'm just gonna juice a few emergency batteries around the ships. Right? Just so some emergency shit like lighting and that kind of stuff can stay on. So before I even do that, I just route, a little bit in case we have trouble.
Okay.
Okay, so this is control engineering with a focus, and we have no do you guys want me to spend momentum? This is pretty...
Before she raises her hand, before you push the button, who's the communications?
Oh, that's me, sir.
Creighton?
Ensign Creighton.
Ensign, could you relay to Starfleet Command that we might need... we're about to approach local starbase for more power and potentially may need a lift if things don't go well.
a tow.
Thank you.
I'll send a word. I believe the nearest ship is still the Franklin.
Great. Edison wouldn't mind towing.
Well, Edison's gonna give you so much shit if he has to do this.
Okay,
All
so
right.
spending a momentum or not?
Huh?
Sure, go for it.
Yeah, you may as
Okay.
well. Last session. Well, that's one success. We need one more from the ship. So, engines and engineering, somebody please.
Can we assist in some fashion?
Yes, please.
I'm a captain. I already did all my shit. I am delegating to somebody else.
Somebody else, please assist the engineer.
Whoever said do it can roll command and control. Or presence and command.
Oh god, well that was me. Presence and command. Okay.
I would
What was-
I'd tell you what, if one of you wanted to roll control plus your discipline.
Hey.
Hey, that's all we need. That's all we need.
What was the ship's role again? What systems?
Engines and engineering.
Hey. Oh.
Good old
Hey.
Aegis.
Who even needs
One of
Shira's
Aegis.
roll? That one was just fluff. The ship did its job.
I was crucial in that I provided 25% of all the success in that.
Anyway, a coherent energy beam launches out from the deflector array of the Aegis. There's a momentary fluctuation in lights as power levels drain to low levels, but you are able to terminate the beam after expending most of the power. There's a moment where nothing seems to happen, and then suddenly the energy field begins to compress and concentrate. Um, the wildlife, such that your sensors are still functioning, seems to very rapidly degrade as radiation pretty quickly gets rid of that. It may also be something to do with the fact that the nanites and whatnot are no longer present. And possibly just the violence of the compression and the sudden takeoff completely destroys the structure that was left on the planet. As a small object, roughly 3 meters end to end, exits the atmosphere and makes it briefly into orbit. There's a shimmer around it as it takes a position just off the bow, and then, in spite of no seeming ability, well, it's not exactly certain what would describe the precise method of transportation it takes. It's not a typical subspace emission that would suggest that it has engaged warp drive, but it does just blink out of existence, seemingly, with a burst of light. There could be something else at work, a form of travel that you don't understand as of yet.
She watches it and then kicks back a little bit on her captain's chair. Well, for first contact, wasn't so bad.
We made it out of it alive, and we got a plushy sheep, sir. I think it's a successful mission, Skipper.
How's our EPS systems?
We're doing good. I juiced a little extra into our emergencies, so anybody in the showers or operating stuff should be just fine. Auxiliary lights will kick in anywhere on the ship.
Deflector?
She's looking good. Although I'm going to let her cool for a little bit. Let's give her a couple hours off before we do anything. Just like the rads and the heat, go off of the system.
Probably a good time to take what we can from the Crozier and notify Starfleet.
That's true. Exactly. If you want any help with those reports, I'll be glad to assist.
Patel?
Hello.
If you can you summon up a funerary detail?
He pauses for a second and then sort of nods solemnly and turns back to his console and does the necessary calling of people.
Okay.
I'm going to basically space bury the body of the captain, and then figure out what Starfleet wants to do with the ship, with the extra ship we have now.
Okay. So snapping ahead some time. Regrettably, I'm not. If you meant to take Captain Ross up with you, I think that he did indeed. Once the nanites were deactivated, he did
I would
essentially.
just come on down. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, he sort
Fair
of
enough.
ceased to be essentially, or ceased to function. So you do. There is a
All
body
right.
to put out in a draped flag and send out an airlock or torpedo tube. He may not have had all his marbles together, but his soul was the most human, what have you.
Right.
Um,
No. I figured.
but discretion is. I will say in the coming hours, Starfleet leaves discretion to you whether to scuttle or to just leave a marker for the ship's later recovery.
If she's recoverable, we'll leave a marker and I'll prep her for recovery.
How desperate is Starfleet in need of ships?
I mean, they're more desperate for crew right now than they are of ships, but you know, every ship also counts as far as they're concerned because Starfleet is trying to build a larger navy right now.
Right. All right.
These
I'll
ships
take.
are worth a third to almost a half of a planetary income. I would say let's marker it. She's
Yeah.
recoverable.
I'll have Romanov put all the shit back that she stripped from it, and then just take the supplies, and then
Okay.
lay down a marker.
Okay. So, with all of that said, would any of you like a final scene to part off the session?
Yeah,
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to spar with the captain.
Oh dear, oh dear. Well, we'll theater of the mind this as sometime later on in the gym. Romanov and Sharp are down in the they're down in the gym area.
I thought the best way to really introduce myself was to show you how I fight. I was trained by a Cosma master of Vulcan martial arts. I thought I would share this with you. I cannot teach it to you. I'm not a master, but I am one of this individual's few students.
That's a lot of bravado, Commander. Why don't you show it? She says.
She'll step up. She's pretty decent. You're probably gonna beat her, but she's not. This isn't about. You can sense this isn't about proving anything. This is about
Yeah.
training. So, she's fitness 10, security 4 with
I'll, I, I will
sus miles
I'll say
as
that
a.
I'm not going to force any rolls here. I think that it's just better that they take their ready stances and
And it's not really. She's just more showing her because she's the commanding officer. So, you know, just sharing. She's a Mako. I can learn a lot of crap from her.
fair enough. Well,
Yep.
as you begin to spar, the camera pans away and a bit of light music ensues as the ship's new engineer and new captain begin to get to know each other, and undoubtedly all have made an impression upon each other in this first mission with this new combination of crew. One that has discovered interesting wonders, but also perhaps some of the dangers of space. And I think that is where we should cut off for this session. So this actually also completes the adventure that we are on. So, or rather, this episode. So I think this is where we will cut it.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd say
Ooh.
I hope all of you enjoyed, and I think, yeah, we're just going to cut it here. But we will, for those following Broken Sword, we will be coming back with that on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so feel free to join us for that. Aegis itself may be taking a bit of a break for a couple weeks, but we may have one-shots to substitute in its place. I would say stay tuned to the uh, GM and the Great Barrier Twitter, which I will post again in the chat for those that came in just a little bit late. And yeah, just stay tuned. We will have something posted for you here as soon as we have it figured out. So
You're gonna run something else on Saturdays, just like one shots,
yeah,
until we return to
we'll
this.
we will chat about it. But until then,
Oh,
I'm going to leave it off here. So thank you all for dropping in, and I hope you have a good day.
great game.